Great. I think folks are here. So good evening. It is a pleasure to be with you this evening, and thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules to join us. And also thank you for choosing Loyola. We're so excited that you're here this evening. My name is Dr. Michelle Cheatham, and I serve as Associate Vice President for Student Development. And this evening's session is Breakthrough, an event for first-gen families. Now I'll turn it over to my wonderful colleague for him to introduce himself.
All right, thank you, Dr. Cheatham. I am Dr. Rodney Parker, and I am the Acting Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer here at Loyola. And I am so delighted to be able to talk to both students and families about their transition, particularly those that may identify as first-generation college students. And so we want to make sure we take this opportunity to answer as many of your questions as we possibly can, and to make sure that you have what you need to sort of start with your transition to Loyola. So one of the things we want to do before we start is to ask, if you can, put in the chat, what do you hope to gain from this session? So if you don't mind, I know it's a bit sometimes hard if you're on a cell phone to actually put in the chat what you're thinking about, but it'd be great for us to kind of make sure that we're going to cover the things that you feel are most important. If you have a burning question, very specific questions can tend to may not be answered in this session, but we want to make sure we get you to the appropriate resources. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time doing this, and I'm gonna, as we do this, as you're putting those questions in the chat, we're actually gonna sort of further introduce ourselves.
Thanks. So Loyola is a very special place to me. So I've worked at Loyola for about 23 years in various roles and capacities. And in my current role as Associate Vice President for Student Development, I work most closely with the departments that assist students in their transition from high school to college. And in addition to that, they help them navigate the various transitions that occur as they move throughout their 4 years. I also work with departments that provide and help students get involved in activities outside the classroom. These departments support various student clubs and organizations and create leadership opportunities for our campus community. But like everyone else, to me, what's also important to know is that I'm more than my title and my role at Loyola. I'm a parent as well, so I can relate to some of what you're feeling at this moment. Also, I'm a first-generation college student. I'm the first person in my family to earn a bachelor's degree. And while I graduated from college many, many years ago, I have very vivid memories of my college experience, particularly what it was like to transition from high school to college, and also the challenges of navigating my first year. I just remember having a lot of questions about the college experience, and my parents were not able to help me in that way. However, their support, their love, and clearly their expectations really helped me through. So we're here to be a resource for our first-gen students and families. And tonight our goal is to give you just an overview of our resources and provide you with the information so you know how to best support your student during their time at Loyola. Dr. Parker?
Yeah, much like Dr. Cheatham, I've been here just a little bit shy of the 23 years she's been here. I've been here 19 whole years, and very similar. I've served in a variety of roles here at Loyola, and so I've watched it kind of grow, and watched the student body grow, and had a chance to work with a number of students. Also, like Dr. Cheatham, I am a first generation college student, graduate, actually. I graduated somebody could say in the last millennia. I graduated before the turn of 2000. And college is so much different than it was when I was there, but there are some things that I would have benefited from had I just had an opportunity to speak with administrators, much like what we're trying to provide for you tonight. So it's really important. I'm just kind of scrolling through. I don't see a whole lot of questions, but I do want to say to the families and maybe the students that are listening that there are really no silly questions. So if you have a question that you don't know, please ask us. Please ask us. Because you don't know what you don't know, right? So we welcome all these questions, big or small. You might have them as we're talking. Questions might come to you. Feel free to use the chat. We would love to be able to address as many of these questions as possible to make sure that your transition is one that is smooth.
So just a quick overview of what we'll be talking about this evening. We'll start with talking about what is a first generation college student and give you a sense from our perspective of what that means at Loyola. The other thing we'll talk a little bit about is what's the difference between high school versus college and what all kind of goes into that transition. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about what to know and expect from college level courses, how to communicate with faculty, some of the support that we provide our first generation students and families, and then a quick overview of the calendar for the semester. And we'll kind of highlight some key and important dates. And then at the end, we have a few announcements and updates to share with you, and then we'll open it up for questions. But I would say feel free we'll do our best to monitor the chat and try to answer some questions along the way as well.
All right, let's get into the heart of it. What is a first gen student? What does that even really mean? What is a first gen college student? And so just wanted to make sure that you knew that you're in the right place, or if you know someone that needs to be sort of hearing this, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a potential roommate of your student, or other families that maybe have a lot of questions and just like feel very intimidated to ask those. This will be a great way in which you can engage. And yes, this will be posted on the orientation website afterward. So what is a first gen college student? Parents, guardians, or families that did not attend college. So just simply, if you're the first to go off to college in your nuclear family or in your extended family, you might be considered a first gen college student. Another way of looking at this is that maybe your parents or families or guardians, maybe they had some experience with college, but they did not obtain a degree. That is another way we might look at a first gen college student. What if your parents, maybe they were actually a whole professional in another country, and when they came to this country, and because the educational systems didn't necessarily match up. So, and you're the first to go through an American college or university, you could be considered a first gen college student as well. So anyone that you might think of that just doesn't have sort of the college knowledge. Now, I'm not talking about a new experience, but literally no one in their family, no one in their in an immediate or like close circle has been to college, and they don't have the college knowledge. So there's some things that they just may not know. You might be a first gen college student as well.
So some of the differences between high school versus college. First of all, it's important to know that your student has the skills and abilities to succeed at Loyola. There are some colleges and universities where they'll accept students who are as a conditional admit. At Loyola, we only select students who we believe have what it takes to meet our expectations and be successful. So know that from the very beginning. The other is college is not the 13th grade. Oftentimes our students think that college is an extension of high school. They're just moving up to that next grade level. Well, it's not like that. And the expectations are very different. College is a whole new different environment. And if students choose to approach it like high school, they're not likely to be successful. So the expectations are significantly higher. And they're expected to put in significant effort, like to work really hard to be successful in the college setting, in the college environment. A few more examples of how college is different is in college, the classes do not meet as often as in high school. So in high school, they're probably going to their same class probably every day throughout the week, except for their specials, such as, music or things of that nature. But in college, some classes are only twice a week. Some classes might be once a week. And it really just depends on the course. So students are often under this impression that they have more free time. And so what they need to learn how to do is how to manage that newfound free time. The reality is, in a nutshell, it all comes down to how students prioritize their time. And going to class and their studies really should be treated like a full-time job. In high school, students are also likely to get friendly reminders to study before a test or to complete an assignment. In college, students will get a syllabus for the course. They're expected to review it, to follow it, and be prepared for each class. Dr. Parker will talk a little bit more about the syllabus and what that's like and give a quick overview of that. Another difference is that in high school, they often probably received a lot of support from teachers, from counselors, and from you as family members. And while Loyola, we really pride ourselves on being very high touch and we care very deeply about our students, but they are expected to make their own decisions and to keep up with their own work and to reach out when is needed. So really the onus is and the responsibility truly is on them. These are just a few examples of the differences between high school and college. There's many, many more. But the other thing I think that's really important is to know that they're going to make mistakes. There are going to be challenges. There will be problems. That's part of life. That's part of the process, part of the learning process. A mentor of ours always said that problems do not get smaller when they go unaddressed. Small problems unaddressed, unfortunately, become big problems. So when your student hits a bump in the road and they're not able to figure things out, it's really important to encourage them to utilize the campus resources and get the help that they need right away and not to wait until it's too late. Because unfortunately, there are times in the college setting where it will be too late. And then there's pretty significant consequences that can come along with that, particularly from the academic standpoint, or even from a social standpoint.
So I want to talk a little bit about how to deal with your courses. This is really important. The number one struggle for first-year students, no matter what their background is, guess what? Time management. Now, Dr. Cheatham spent some time talking about sort of this transition from high school to college. And this is really a major step for a lot of students because they're used to having periods and bells. So the bell rings, you go to the next period. The bell ring, you go to the next period. Now you have something very different in that you may meet with a class maybe only twice a week, or you may meet with a class 3 times a week. Okay, but there's no class in front of it or ahead of it, and there's no class behind it. And so it leaves sort of this illusion that they actually have. And so this is where Dr. Cheatham and I, we were having a discussion earlier about free time. But what is free time? And so what I try to encourage students is to think about it as maybe unscheduled time. Okay, this is your unscheduled time. And what your responsibility to do is much like when you went to high school and you had periods and times when you were supposed to be doing certain things, you also have to take time to put some study time in there, which is really important because that is the number one reason why students are in college, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So this is really important for us to think about. It is said that for every hour that a student stays in an actual lecture or class, they should devote at least 3 hours to study. So if that is the case, all that free time or unscheduled time gets taken up really, really fast. And one of the things we have to realize, I love what Dr. Cheatham said, is that we have to I have to tell the students to treat it like a full-time job. So it's not so much that you're just sort of relaxing or you're just going to the FAC all day, and that this is not a resort. This is for you to develop your academic, as well as in many ways your professional skills. And so you want to take advantage of that. A couple of things I want to make sure that I share. I'm going to stop sharing I want to share a couple of things with you, but I have to stop sharing the screen in order for you to see that. So you may hear your student talk about Moodle, and you're like, what is a Moodle? Like, who is Moodle? But Moodle is the online platform that most professors use to sort of introduce the course and have some information. So I do want to stop sharing just for a second so I can show you the Moodle site. Hold on for just a second. And this just happens to be a Moodle site. As you see, it's spelled like noodle, but it's Moodle. And so you have a dashboard similar to what you're seeing here. Now, these are the courses that I've either taken or that I've taught. And so the course that I have, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this. Dr. Cheatham, can you see that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. So you see here, this is a course name and number. It gives you a little description. And then here I talked a little bit about the required text and readings. And so these are the places that your student will look for to find out what resources are necessary for the class. Maybe that's something that they might need to purchase, or is it through the library, those kinds of things. There's also a syllabus, which we're going to kind of go through very quickly. Attendance is really important. And I think sometimes students believe, oh, well, I'm in college, no one will know that I'm not attending class. Well, Loyola cares about the success of our students. And so we do often take attendance for class, and particularly for first-year students. And then if you were to actually go, you see each week has sort of lecture topics and readings and things like this. Now, the one thing we don't want for your student is for them to get into the middle of October and then realize that they don't know where the Moodle site is, or they've never been to the Moodle site, or maybe even as far as the spring semester, and they don't know where the Moodle site is. This is really important. This is also a place where some of the professors use the grading on Moodle. So this is really important as well. A common question I get from parents is, can I access Moodle? Well, actually, it's only for students, okay? So we want to make sure that you understand this is about developing your student as an emerging adult. So he or she will have to take responsibility for his or her academic progress. And in a lot of ways, what we need for you to do is to sort of be a support to them and sort of point them in the right directions. And we'll have a chance to talk a little bit more about that. So that's Moodle in a nutshell. If you have additional questions, feel free to let us know. We can you probably can YouTube it, and there might be a tutorial on Moodle on YouTube. So that's one thing. I want to take a risk. Actually, it's not even showing now. So let's see if I can do this. And Dr. Cheatham, can you tell me if you can see the syllabus?
Hold on, it looks like, yep, it's coming up.
Okay,
Good job.
Sounds great. So this is what a syllabus looks like. So of course, it lets you know what course you're in. It also lets you know the course name. It also tells you who the instructor is, the office location, phone number, email. Then my office hours were at that particular time. It was Tuesday from 4 to 5 or by appointment. Let me say a word about office hours, because sometimes students think that I've had a student to tell me, I thought that was the time that you were not supposed to disturb your professor. Well, no, the office hours are really student hours. They want students to come by. They want to connect with your student. Let me just tell you, a critical part of being successful at Loyola is connecting to your faculty member. It also has the class days and times, the classroom, so they know where they're going. And these are usually on Moodle before the first day. So you can actually, if you for some reason forget where your class is, you can check and see if there's a syllabus up. You can check and see where it is. Once again, required reading, course descriptions, course objective, course requirements and assignments. That's where most students, they want to know, like, what is required of me? So for me, I had a participation grade, reaction papers that they had to write, in-class exams, final paper, and a final exam. These are all important. And then you see these little descriptions that are here as well. Then there's sort of this way in which they see how the grading is, the grading information, what it takes to make an A minus, a B plus, a B, don't go below a B. You can, but we hope that you would do very well here and you wouldn't have to worry about, what does it take to make a C minus? The grade distribution, the ways in which, what makes up your final grade, this is really important. And I even had a rubric about how you know you're getting the 10 points for a participation grade, a rubric for how you know you can make an A on that final paper. Classroom protocols. This is really important. No two classes are the same. One classroom protocols may be different from another classroom protocol. You have to know which protocol, which class you're in, and what your professors are asking for. So you see the classroom protocols. There's a way for you to connect with disability support services if you had accommodations in high school. Really encourage you to register with disability support services. This is very different. It's different from high school. One of the things you have to register, but then you also have some other things you have to do in order to get the accommodations. So you have to go to the disability support website, meet with somebody from disability support, actually figure out what your accommodations are, and then make sure you activate those accommodations. I can't tell you the number of students who they said, well, I just want to try it afresh. I want to see what it's like, this, that, and the other. And I have to have conversations with them about, the accommodations are not about intelligence, but it might be about a different learning style. So you might want to check in with disability support services to figure out what you need to continue to be successful. Here, you also have an honor code. All students have to abide by the honor code. If you, in this particular course, if you plagiarize, it's a departmental rule that you get an F for the course, regardless, before getting to the honor council. That's a bit steep. You want to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. You want to make sure you're using the resources on campus. And last but not least, there's sort of this roadmap. I say it's a roadmap, but it's a calendar that kind of lets you know what you're discussing on that particular day. And you can see what the readings are. You can see where the reaction papers, when they're due, this, that, and the other, when the final paper is due, those kinds of things. So you kind of get a sense of what is going to happen in the course. It's a roadmap. I do want to bring you back to this one little caveat at the beginning, because some students feel like, oh, I don't have to go on the first day, because some people affectionately call it syllabus day. But let me just say, there's a lot that comes out on the first day. So I encourage a student to make sure they're in class on the first day. But this little caveat says the schedule is subject to change with fair notice given by, and that was for me, Dr. Parker. So this would be really, really important for students to know prior to, and if there's a change and you're not in class, you're still responsible for that change because you're responsible for your own attendance that's in class, all right? So I'm gonna stop that for a second and we're gonna go back to our PowerPoint. I appreciate you being patient with me. I wouldn't say I'm technologically challenged, but sometimes technology doesn't work in the ways that I want it to work. Okay, so communication with faculty. This is really important. It is your students' responsibility to maintain communication with faculty. First off, students, don't ghost your faculty. It happens. It shouldn't be you though, okay? Students are responsible for contacting their faculty, parents, families, guardians. This is really important. You do not contact the faculty, okay? So you say, well, what if I need to check up on Jimmy? Well, then you're gonna have to ask Jimmy to make sure he connects to the faculty member and hold Jimmy accountable, okay? Because parents, guardians, and families do not connect to faculty. It's for a number of reasons, no less the fact that the faculty cannot talk to you about your students' progress. Why can't they talk to you about your students' progress? Because it's illegal, according to FERPA. So we cannot share about the academic progress of the student unless the student has given written consent that we can speak to the parents. So it really wouldn't do you any good to contact the faculty member. I encourage parents, families, guardians to work with your students. Work with them on connecting to the resources. All right, so let's just say, for instance, so that's you as a supporting role. And they're saying, I'm afraid of my faculty. I don't know what to do. You can always contact the Assistant Dean of Undergraduate Studies, okay? And then they can help you strategize about how you communicate with faculty. If you feel the faculty is not communicating back with you, that's another layer of going to a dean and saying, hey, I need some help with connecting to this faculty. This is really important as well. Now, parents can and have often done call the assistant dean. Okay, so that might be a way in which you can kind of relay information.
So just continuing on this level of support, one way that you can support your student is to really just make sure you're aware of the various resources. While we are sharing some information this evening, you know, when you get a moment, take some time to review Loyola's website. I think you'll find that there's a great deal of information there that might be helpful. There are many great things about Loyola, but I think one of the best aspects of Loyola is our wonderful community of people. And here are a few positions that you should be familiar with, and the people in these positions can assist your student. So the first one is Evergreen. All students are assigned to an Evergreen in the summer, and then they usually get a different Evergreen assigned to the fall. And the Evergreen is a student who's usually a sophomore, it's a sophomore, junior, or a senior. So they've been through Loyola at least for 1 year, and they are there to serve as an orientation leader for the students. But they also, there's an Evergreen in each of the Messina courses. So really, this is a student that is with and connected to your student throughout the entire year. Our Evergreens are very familiar with campus resources, and they play a critical role in helping your student transition from high school to college. The other position is a resident assistant, an RA. And for students who live in the residence halls or live on campus, every student will have an RA. Once again, this is another student who's a sophomore, junior, or senior, and they live on the same floor or close by to the floor of your student. The RA's role is to build community, to be a resource, and also to check in with students and help with their transition. Another important person for your student to know is their faculty advisor. Once again, students are all assigned a faculty advisor, and which is a faculty member or professor. And this person is also a part of the Messina teaching team. And Messina is our first year living learning program that all students are required to engage in. So all students have a faculty advisor. This person assists students with their transition, but also can connect them to resources, helps them address academic issues, and provides them with guidance on choosing their courses. Students should have already connected with their faculty advisor by this particular time. Same thing, students should have already connected and had meetings with their Evergreen by this time during the summer. Another great resource is their Messina mentor. The Messina mentor is typically an administrator on campus who's very well connected to Loyola. They're very familiar with Loyola resources. They can provide students guidance in their transition and are likely to help students address most student-related concerns. And if they're not able to do it, they typically know someone who can assist them. Once again, as Dr. Parker mentioned, generally, parents do not contact the folks in these positions. It's best that you have the student contact them if they need assistance. But we think it's important for you to know who are some of the folks that are, and what are some of the positions that are available for your student in case they do have, they struggle at some point. Please know that we are here to partner with you and to ensure your student success. And if you're concerned about your student at any point in time, there are folks that you can reach out to. So for example, if your student is living on campus, you reach out to the Office of Student Life, and someone there will speak with you, and you can kind of troubleshoot on what we can do to support your student. The Dean of Students is another person, and the Dean of Students office, another resource. As Dr. Parker mentioned, the Dean of Undergraduate Studies or Assistant Dean for Undergraduate Studies, and also campus safety. So please know that there are ways for you to connect if there are concerns that you want us to know about and in ways that we can best support your student. Dr. Parker?
The first semester could potentially look like, okay? And I'm gonna try this and see if it works. This is, Dr. Cheatham, can you let me know when it comes up, if it comes up? Can you
Okay.
see?
Sure, I see the PowerPoint for now.
Okay, so then I need to do something different.
Mhm.
Okay. If you don't mind, just bear with us. Okay, let me stop share. All right, and then let's go back in. Are you able to see this fall semester now?
Yes, great.
Okay. All right, so these are really important dates, but they're online. So for your student, if they went into Inside Loyola and just really typed in, like in the search bar, academic calendar, you'll pull this up. But we just wanted to talk through a few of these things, okay? So this is going to be really important. So for those students that are living on campus, September 1st and 2nd are your move-in dates. You're going to get information from Student Life to tell you when your actual move-in time is, okay? So you got to pay attention. Let me just underscore something that Dr. Cheatham said. You got to convert to your Loyola email. That is how we're going to respond to you. That is the official way in which the university responds to students. So if you have a Gmail account, a TikTok account, or whatever account you have, you need to convert it to loyola.edu, okay? Because we want to make sure that you get the appropriate information. That is for your student. Make sure if your student's not with you tonight, tell them, hey, you got to start using loyola.edu. If they have questions, they can call tech services and ask them, how do I forward whatever Gmail account they had to their Loyola account, or vice versa, whichever works. But when we send information, it's going to come to your loyola.edu account. All right, so that important information about when to check in will probably be there as well. It's usually based off residence hall areas. And so we want to make sure you get that important information. So after students have checked in on the 3rd through the 6th, we call it Fall Welcome Weekend. It is like our fall orientation, okay? So students, particularly first-year students, it is really important for you to attend there. Let me just say this. I know for some students, they feel like, I know this thing. I took college courses. I don't have to go to Fall Welcome Weekend. I don't need an orientation to college. But let me tell you, there's some Loyola specific things that if you do not attend Fall Welcome Weekend, you'll be sort of behind the pack. So we want to encourage all first-year students to attend Fall Welcome Weekend, okay? So, and then you actually get a day off after you've been here for almost a week, right? So Labor Day, you get off, right? We're asking students to make sure that they're preparing themselves for the first day of class, which is September the 7th. This might be a good day for you to check in to see how that student is doing. How is your first class going? What was it like? What has your first day been like? Those kinds of things. It's a natural check-in for students. And then in the first 4 days, so from Tuesday to Friday, generally by 5 p.m. on Friday, this is what's called the add drop period. That means that students can add a class or drop a class, all right, during this period without any penalty. So it doesn't go in your transcript or anything like that, but you have 4 days to figure it out, okay? So we want you to figure it out early. That means you gotta go to your first class. You might have to sit through the syllabus and then determine whether you're gonna stay in the class or drop the class. Now, it's really important for you to remember that in order to be full-time, you gotta have 12 credits, okay? And in order for you to stay on track to graduation, it's really important for you to carry 15 credits per semester at the minimum. So, but we can talk to you about that. Your faculty advisor could help you about that. Let me just say this about your faculty advisors. If your student has not said, a faculty advisor has reached out to me to finish registering for my fall courses, okay? That is a red flag because faculty advisors are reaching out to students in this very moment. to make sure they schedule time to meet with students so that they can finish their fall registration. So this part is very critically important. We want students to be able to choose from the classes that are available, okay? Once again, let's say, for instance, there's a class they really want, it's not available, but they can check during the add drop time in the first 4 days of the semester and see if they can add it. All right, so after that, you can see a number of things. Another natural place for you as a family guardian or parents to sort of check in on students is coming back to campus, maybe like about 4 weeks later, actually, for family weekend. There's a lot of activities that are here and in the city. We encourage students and families to actually be a part. Maybe you can't come. However, this would be a great time for you to sort of touch base with your student because other families may be on campus. However, nevertheless, make sure that you do a touch in around that weekend, which is September 24th through 26th, okay? Don't be alarmed if students are starting to feel a little antsy, feel like they're having a little bit of homesickness. It's part of the course. It happens right around that time. That's why that check-in is so important. Then in October, the middle of October, we have what we call a fall break. It's just really a day off for the students. So they get a break off. But right before that, before the 15th, guess what? They're usually in midterm time. Why do I mention this? It's because families need to know when a high peak stress time might be for your student. It might mean you check in, but sparingly. You might check to make sure that they're studying, okay? You're making sure that they're sleeping because now they're having to do all this on their own. You know who you raised in your house. So you know how much you need to check on them. So this is really important. And then in November, there is a final time for people to drop courses. And that is on November the 15th. So, but at this point, because we're outside of the 5 days, the student will receive a W, which means that they have withdrawn from the course, okay? That does go in your transcript. That's different from the first 5 days. It does go in your transcript. Is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world, but it does mean that you're gonna probably need to make those credits up at some additional, at another time, okay? So this is really important as well. So if you have to withdraw with the W, you're probably gonna need to make that up. I would also include, it'd be a great time to talk to your faculty advisors because you've gotta get their signature in order for that to happen. All right, so you can talk about how to strategize to get back on track as soon as possible. And guess what? We have Thanksgiving break. And for Thanksgiving break, the residence halls actually close, okay? So most classes stop around Tuesday. I think Wednesday is off for no classes on Wednesday. And so from Wednesday till through the weekend, the residence halls are closed. However, for those students that may have to travel a distance or do not have the means to go home or may have to be on campus, there is a provision for them to stay on campus, but they have to apply for it. So this is really important. And we're trying to get these dates out because I know a lot of parents, families, guardians are trying to determine when their student is coming back, what it means for them to come back. If your flying tickets are high, you want to know this as soon as possible, okay? So I'm really going to encourage you to go back to this page and then you can kind of make out what your student schedule will be. Lastly, in December, so like a week and a half class, a study day, and then it starts the exam period. An exam period goes all the way up until the 21st. Looks like it's going up until the 21st, all right? Then the university closes for our Christmas/winter break. And so your student would have finished their first semester. If they do experience any bumps in the road, all right, this will be really, really important for them to get connected to the resources, okay? Remember what Dr. Cheatham said is that what small problems become big problems, and big problems sometimes can wait too long and we're not able to do anything about it, okay? All right. Let me stop sharing there. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Cheatham again. Let me get to where I'm supposed to be. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Parker. Okay, so we're wrapping up here. But before we give you the opportunity to ask questions, we just have a couple announcements. Once again, please make sure your students are checking and using their Loyola email. This is truly our avenue to communicate directly with them. And so that is now through their whole entire time with us. I know email, they'll say emails for old people. Reality is, it is just our primary way of communicating with students, particularly when there's large groups. The other thing is, so next week, students should check their emails for an invitation to Unity in Community, which is next week. And so this is an opportunity for students to meet up in different affinity groups. And one of those groups is first gen students. And then on July 28th, we have an inclusion and belonging panel. And you can find information about that on the orientation website. I think that's it. Now we'd like to give you the opportunity. If there's any questions that you have from us, you can please unmute yourself and ask your question, or if you're comfortable, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. But we're happy to answer anything for you at this time. Okay. Well, there doesn't seem to be any questions at this time, which is okay, not a problem. If something comes up and you think, oh, darn it, I should have asked about this, please know that you can get additional information if you send an email to orientation@loyola.edu. And the orientation staff or the student engagement staff is fantastic. They will forward along that email to the appropriate department or office or person, and that person will get back to you. Okay, anything for you to add, Dr. Parker?
No, I've enjoyed my time with these families, and hopefully if you have any questions, feel free to look us up on the website. We're definitely resources to you and to your students. And I wish the class of 2025, hard to believe, class of 2025, the best.
That's right. And have a wonderful and safe summer. Thank you.
Take care. Be safe.